I remember when I used to. Ooh, damn! The chair kind of spoke for me. Squeak, squeak. But I'm kind of dressed like I have a 13-year-old kid that I had when I was 18, and I took them to their first middle school dance today. Because I only get to see them, for weeks at a time because their mother has laundered every dime out of me. But I found true love by meeting another woman whose dad abandoned her child because she had a child at a young age, and he was into alcohol, drugs, and gambling. And the dream of building telescopes. But now he can zoom in from afar through her window. Cause he a creep. And I be creeping through her skirt. Skirt! Just kidding. But I'm literally dressed like someone who's grown up, but they haven't actually grown up their wardrobe. So I will be someone that actually doesn't address their wardrobe. Get it? Address. Until my son or my daughter is old enough where their wardrobe is better than I am, and by default have to step it up. And little do they know, the only reason why I stepped up my wardrobe is because now we have a blended family. You just threw us all up in a ninja and then go like zzz. Your mom was always into samurai swords, and that's why she's in probation and why she doesn't have any custody of you. So I'm glad I could help. That's why I'm afraid of Panda Express. Too much PTSD. That's why I've never seen the movie Samurai with Tom Cruise. Even though I do got the Top Guns now. Where's my permit? Rating permitted. And I am rating your ears or your computer screens. Or if you have me up, if you have a HDMI cord like I use, and just everything on your laptop, you hook it up to your big old RCA TV that's cracked from the back because your cat wants to have the zoomies and flip your TV over. But TV is just one big plastic container with the screen. I remember the term plasma TVs. I remember when that was a thing. Yeah, you got to get a plasma TV. And then years later, I started donating plasma blood, and I'm like, the same things that are coming out of my body to donate for, or research or surgeries or blood, and then plasma TVs. Seems like there's a disconnect of importance. Seems like if it's so good for me, why am I giving it? All right, so if we're donating it to other people, that's great. But then we're bringing back the radiation to us. Because I am radiating energy. Because I'm a generator. Supposedly. Which is true. Apparently based off my sign. And all that good stuff. I am a generator of energy. What does it mean? It means I don't need none of y'all motherfuckers. Now you can drain the fuck out of me, but you can't add anything to me because I am at full max capacity. You can filter all the water down, pour it in all the nice Brita filter waters you have, but you will never find anyone as pure as me from a soul generating, radiating to your spirit standpoint. and I am generating your ears bleeding right now. But yeah, more of all that is I guess only call me in need of emergency. If your power has gone out, if your will of survival, if your will to live has gone out, I'm your guy. And that's why I'm dressed in all black right now. Because I can, help you with your funeral. Or I can help revive you from this black hole myth that you feel of yourself. Because of all these negative things you have told yourself. Black hole sun, won't you come? And yeah. Welcome to episode 237, the actual episode 237. Because last episode, I said it was 237. Really believing it was episode 237 when it was not episode 237. But I promise, this one is episode 237. I double checked. This is what happens when you have full control. I'm like one of those people. I have full control of my show. No one touches it. And then people are like, you should probably let a couple people touch it. Pause. Welcome to episode 237 of the Off the Beat podcast with Clint Nelson. I'm your host, Clint Nelson. Don't forget to like, follow, comment, subscribe, hit the notification. But most important, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to suck some titties. I know my voice kind of sounds like I'm doing this in a echoing church, and it sounds like I'm being silent because, I want to be respectful in God's place, but in reality, I'm at home and people are sleeping. And good thing we have soundproof headphones that are really soundproof. Or is it called noise canceling? It's kind of funny how we call it noise canceling, but all we do is hear all the noise in our ears. But I get it. It means we don't hear the outside noise, which is actually kind of dangerous. You have people walking around with noise canceling stuff, and they literally don't hear the whole world that's going around them. It's kind of weird if we don't create a law for that. I don't know. But yeah. Recording this at 1:28 a.m. Eastern on November 27th, 2023 for the archives. Oh, and most important, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to suck some titties. Oh, baby. Oh, Jesus, my breathing is a lot to be desired. And yes, today's drink is Ghost. Orange cream. Creme de la creme, homie. What is that from? Is it Wu-Tang that says that or NWA? I think NWA stands for No Withdrawing Assets. That's what NWA stands for. Gotta keep it kid friendly, This is a kid friendly show. Now, with that being said, see-through panties. It is wild though, right? We go out in this world, we go out in public. We don't expect to see anything absurd. You may see the occasional person with a little risque clothing. Ah, shit. On. My bad. Sorry. You probably just heard that big old blender in the background. That was my air conditioning. It's probably not best to do your show right by a blasting air conditioning unit that's like 48 years old. But you know what? Priorities. You gotta do what you gotta do. At least I pay for my power bill. You lazy bums. Oh, Georgia Power. Out of my account every fucking month. It's kind of one of those weird things. I understand you're charged based off how much power you use or don't use. But Jesus Christ, it should not vary that much. And it's not even a consistent billing cycle. 1 month will be a 46-day cycle. The next will be 41 days. You know? But yeah, no, we go out in this world. You know, you like to think in a day, if you're going out in the world for a few hours a day, you're going to see a mass amounts of people. You're going to see many types of people, many different types of clothing, especially during the summertime, springtime. But the weirdest part, you would think the winter would be the time where everyone's on the same page. Like, everyone should be wearing some type of pants, some type of sweater, a hat, makeup. But it seems like we always got to have those people that go against the grain. We got to always have those people that are quote unquote different. I stand out because I stand out. And you're like, yes. And I can see all the chill bumps on your knees. And you're like 40% more likely to get an injury. But you know what? What do I know? And I kid you not, today, I saw someone in some fishnets, right? I hate that term, fishnets. I don't know what about fishnets is actually about fish. Is it because it's like when you see through water, you can see the little fishies? Well, not today's water, because, most water is polluted and shit. You can't really see through it. But, ideally, if you're close enough to water with the sun beaming down, you can at least see a couple feet through the, the initial layer. And this girl, and by girl, I mean someone probably around my age. All right, so let's just say this lady was sitting down wearing fishnets when it's 42 degrees outside. Now we're inside now. But it's one of those places where the inside is not much warmer than the outside. I read the AC. It said it was 65 degrees in there. If for some reason 65 degrees inside feels hella more cold than if it was 65 degrees outside, right? She's wearing fishnets on her legs. I wasn't staring at her legs. I was behind her line, and I almost couldn't believe, I'm going to be honest. I thought, it's Sunday. She probably had a long Saturday night. Came from somewhere. Maybe she's still on duty. You get what I'm saying? Or maybe she's low on laundry. I can relate to that. But even if I'm low on laundry, I would just wear some dirty ass clothes before I go around wearing fishnets if that's my only option. Now maybe it's different because if I wore fishnets, we got a big problem. Because my quads would rip the shit out of them. But honestly, fishnets aren't even really that attractive. Like, the first thing I think of when I was a younger man, the first thing I ever saw of fishnets, I forgot the movie it was, but I remember the actress. It was this actress named Alicia Silverstone, I believe. She was like the Brendan Fraser for women over time. She had like this crazy run. And for some reason, Hollywood just shunned her out. For Brendan Fraser, it was after George of the Jungle. Or, not George of the Jungle. But you should watch out for that tree. Boom, boom, tree. I do think I'm more of a George of the Jungle than Thor, but neither here nor there. But I think it was I think it was when he did the Looney Tunes movie. And when he did fucking that Journey to the Center of the Earth thing before The Rock did it. That was kind of like his comeback, but for some reason, there was a weird gap in between that, and then now he's doing one of those artistry movies where he's the whale, because he gained a lot of weight for a role or whatever, committed acting. But she was kind of like that. She didn't get a lot of weight, but I think it was Blast from... That's what it was. It was a movie they were both in. Blast from the Past. Ironically, this feels like a blast from the past. I think I just found the title of this episode. It's all coming together. But something about the imagery, and maybe this is why you should be careful what you show your kids, because apparently I remember this very well. There was nothing overly sexual about it. But they had the screen be black and white, even though it was like a 90s movie, but the setting of what they were doing, they made the screen black and white. And she was in these fishnets, just like a seductive, kind of a maid outfit, but not really, kind of like a outfit you would dress up for your man. Comes home from a long day of using the calculator. And you're like, oh, honey, look at me. Aren't I stunning? And at that time in the 80s, like, I don't know, most women kind of look the same. You know, I know it kind of sounds weird to say. I think just the styles of woman we had. God, I'm really coming off as some type of way. But I mean this across the board. There's so many different styles that men and women have these days. You know, you have casual men. You have casual fitting. You have very lazy fitting. You have very, you know, a guy wears a suit. It's crazy. Back in the day, even if you had a blue-collar job, it was very normal for every time you went out to eat, you had a suit or you had at least a blazer of some sort. Nowadays, man, there's dudes millions of dollars who don't have blazers, and there's broke-ass dudes who have blazers, you know. There's guys that dress like bums, even if they're living. There's guys that dress well. There's guys that just dress the same all the time. There's guys that dress regular. There's guys that switch it up. There's guys that dress athletic, sporty. And there's women that dress very lazy, casual. Girls that dress like hoes. There's girls that dress very, pristine. There's women that dress very angelic. There's a woman that dress very professional. Woman that dress very astute. Look at Clint drawing out the adjectives out here. See, I haven't completely lost my wordplay. Don't make me rap battle, bitch. And classic. Back in the day, based off the movies and these videos and stuff you see and hear, pictures from the Marilyn Monroe era, the JFK wives, Jackie Kennedy. I don't want to connect them because obviously there's a weird layover there. Or the Aubrey, what's her name? Aubrey, not Drake, like Aubrey Hepburn, you know, that type of era where it was like, all right, you have brunettes, you have blondes, and they all kind of dress the same. When you basically dress as your class, where now classes of income are so interchangeable. People don't necessarily dress or reflect their income or class or their status. It's not as blatant, you know. Where back in the day, it was just everyone. It was almost monotonous. Like, it wasn't nothing that stood out about it. Now we have less fashion choices. There was Elizabeth Taylor, right? I'm not an expert on these people. These are just names I'm throwing out there that I think of when I think of the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. Mainly the 50s, 60s, 70s. These icons, these female icons. I think of the way dress and stuff. The way, like men, for the James Deans of the world. The Sean Connery, you know. Before he was like, you know, sometimes you just gotta slap him in the face, you know. And I guess the point I'm trying to make is sometimes I think I will, like, there's parts that I would want that to be current. Like, I wish there was more of a standard for when you go out in public. There should be a minimum standard of how to present yourself and should be at least public pressure. Like, you can't fix how certain people are raised or not raised. Like, I don't go out in public and dress all that great most of the time. But if there was a minimum standard of it would not be acceptable for people to want to be around you, be seen with you. Nowadays, people just don't care. So that's the reason why it's like, whatever. But if that was this, we would all have a minimum dress standard for how we care about ourselves. Hygiene standard, presentable, the way we do our hair, whatever. And I was kind of looking like, and that made me think for a second, like, man, I don't go out with anything that's reflective of wearing fishnets in public. But I kind of dress like a bum. I dress like a bum with a nice bum. But I don't know. I guess I saw that and it made me think. It really makes you think, like, I'm not a classic man. But would I want to be? Like, would I want to dress like every other person if that's what it was? Or is there always natural people that zag? Would I be one of those that just doesn't dress like that just because everyone else does? I probably wouldn't, because I couldn't afford it and I wouldn't care to. That's probably more the real reason. But it's also just not me. But would it be me if from a young age that's just what it was? Who knows? But any jizzaboo, enough of dressing the part, and let me undress all your parts. And let's talk about real estate. I was actually having an interesting, a situation came up. I was listening to something. And the thing I was listening to, they were kind of talking about how you were taught to save your money, right? You were taught, common sense would say, spend less than you make, save your money, save some for retirement, 401k, all that stuff. And if you do all that basic stuff over a long period of time, you'll be all right. Anything you need to afford, you'll be able to afford. You won't be in dire straits. But there's also a lot of, on the flip side, where nowadays, if you just do that, you are being told that you're not doing enough or you're not really capitalizing on the market. It's like everyone needs to invest, right? Everyone needs to invest in stocks. Everyone needs to do this. Everyone needs to do real estate. And it got me thinking, because everyone wants you to invest in real estate and all this stuff. Real estate and any type of stocks and stuff. It's literally gambling just like anything else. You could do probability causes of what's more likely to see, what's less likely to succeed. But the possibilities of you making a lot of money or losing a lot of money is essentially the same. Because it's literally, this thing's either going to hit the tank or you're going to be like, oh, baby, let's go to the bank. And it got me, as someone that now gambles. And by gambling, I mean daily sports fantasy. I'm not doing anything illegal for my state. I just say gamble because it really is what it is. I'm putting money into something, either win or lose. Mostly lose. And Scotty Barnes, you just had to get an assist with 20 seconds left in the fucking game. It cost me $25 fucking dollars. It's the fucking point. Losing makes you hate things. But neither here nor there. But it's weird how we have all these negative incentive. Like, we got to have these gambling addiction hotlines. We got to gamble response with this and that and the other. But and it's this negative point of view. It's this negative thing that gambling has to be sanctioned. Gambling's got to be this overly what is it called, managed, right? Like, there shouldn't be any illegal stuff happening. Like, I'm not saying there shouldn't be any hands in from outside to keep it fair, to make sure people aren't running books illegally and stuff like that. But it's weird how for stuff like real estate, stocks, and we can even say crypto, we've seen how all that stuff has worked. That stuff is just like, oh no, this is how, this is an acceptable way to expand your portfolio and stuff like that. And I really think the only reason why gambling is banned in so many states, and there's so many sanctions, regulations is what I'm looking for. So many regulations. And I know there's regulations in the stock market to protect people and stuff like that, but we all know there's a lot of loopholes to get through that. But I really think gambling, in comparison to stocks and all that stuff, the reason why gambling, in the sense, is so negatively looked down upon and frowned upon from government and anyone in charge of anything, is because in their minds, it does nothing to contribute to society. You ever hear the term that it's everyone's duty to contribute to the economy, to essentially be a working person? Yeah, you hear that term? Someone to contribute to society. They always say be a taxpayer like everyone else, right? Which now, if you make enough money in gambling, you do pay taxes, so okay. But in their mind, gambling doesn't put anything back in the economy. It's the definition of selfishness. You do nothing, right? I mean, you do but you do basically nothing. You put a bet. You place a possibility. You may win or lose. You spend, let's just say, 5 to 10 minutes. If you're spending time, some of you do spend hours preparing, but you spend X amount of time. And then after that, it's out of your hands. Whatever happens, happens. And you could basically sit on your ass all day and watch other people make you money. But that's looked down upon, because the only people benefit out of that is the eyeballs, like advertisement for these sports. And that's why sports, NBA, NFL, they're all embracing gambling, because they benefit economically from everyone's interest, from people that were just casual fans now are watching every game, getting league pass to watch the games, to keep up with stuff, and have a heavy interest. They can advertise. It creates more income. They have partnerships with these places, with these sports, these businesses. So now it's a way where it's quote unquote contributed to the economy, because now everyone can get a piece of the pie. But when it was just isolated, people make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year betting on horse racing, betting on football, fantasy this, whatever the fuck, poker. It was such just like they couldn't do anything because you're not doing anything illegal. But they will find any way to look into you, to say that you're embezzling money or that you are not doing something right with what you're doing. It is because there's something that sits with people when you are doing something, making a living, or doing very well at something that is not considered quote unquote hard, that is not considered a skill, which I can tell you this, by doing it, it is a skill. Like, is way more of a skill than you would think, right? I'm hoping to become pretty decent at it. But I really but you hear the term that you have to lose money to actually understand how to gamble, because once you lose enough money, you got to actually, that's when you start tasting like, okay, what am I doing wrong? You change your approach. You actually do some research of how to really look at stuff, how to actually study what you're looking at. It is a skill. I don't care how much you know sports. I don't care how much you've watched it your whole life. That means actually shit. And sometimes the more you know about something, you think you know about something, it actually is like the biggest thing getting in your way from being successful at it. You got to have the least amount of ego if you want to be good. That's what you hear from a lot of these people. When people think they know it, they just keep like, oh, I think this person, this matchup, they're going to do this. Like, you may get once in a while, but it's not as random as like the lines. The shit is it's so crazy how much is 1 point, 1 rebound, 1 assist, 1 touchdown, 1 yard. How crazy this, how close this shit is. It does make you feel like the shit is rigged. And I wouldn't doubt it to an extent, especially in this NBA shit, how easy it would be to manipulate these games. I think the NFL would be a lot harder to manipulate certain things. But the NBA could be very easy if you're a ref and shit. That's definitely and obviously they've had the history with it. But the situation brought up that I think gambling is looked at as this thing where we have to teach people how bad of a thing it is. But it's honestly no worse than people that do, quote unquote, investing in the most general sense. Now, you could always be more protected, except with gambling, if you're you don't have to be given a loan to make money off of it if you're consistently winning. You can start with a very small amount of money and make a lot over time. Where when you're investing, it's like, oh, you got to invest this and you got to give it to this bank, then this lender, and then they flip the money and you got to spend money to make, and then put more effort to do this. And it really when people look at sports gambling, stuff like that, and they make it like it's this worst thing in the world, like it's the downfall of the society. Like, oh, now you're worried about people overspending money. You're worried about people draining their lives and fucking up their lives. But people don't care. But they don't care when you're spending thousands of dollars a year on alcohol fucking up your life. They don't care if you're spending thousands and thousands of dollars on hookers. They don't care if you're just blowing your money on junk food. They don't track that. Oh, because those things contribute to businesses. But gambling is this selfish endeavor where people can make as much money doing nothing as much money as they do in their daily job. Let's say the average job you're making on a decent job, $250 a day, which in these day and ages is still pretty hard to get by at. But surprisingly, there's not as many people making that much a day as you think, though. And you could put a $20 bet into it. And potentially, if everything goes perfect, you could leave with $500 in one day. One day. You make in 3 hours if you do it all in the same time slot of games. That's how crazy this shit is. Now you could be a little bit more safe with your bet and win $200. Put 20, make 200. But think about how absurd that is. Something that, let's say you make 20, just say 20 an hour. You spent 1 hour of your life and you invest that into something. And within 3 or 4 hours, you got as much as you would make in one day. And you didn't have to do anything but just make some guesses or calculated guesses or some research input on something, we'll just say. Think about that. But the problem is that it's not sustainable for a lot of people because to win 60% of your bets is considered out of this world elite. Like really, I think it's less than 50%. It's like if you're hitting 50% if you're hitting like 30, 40% of your bets, like you're in a top 0.01%. I think it's like for this daily fantasy sports things, I think it's like people win less than like I think it's like less than 6 to 8% of their stuff they put in. And so basically a lot of people just end up breaking even at best. But why do people keep on doing it for months and months? They keep breaking even on this stuff. is because winning brings hope. And these sites know exactly what they're doing when they give you these discounts. And they give you these, oh, dude, this is a free entry. Like, bro, if you pick this one, they just have to get 1 yard. That's 1 to 6. You don't have to work. Because you know what you're willing to do? You're willing to put more money. You're willing to do more. The odds are not in your favor. Oh, we'll do a protected pick where if you put all of your, if you put $20 in this, no matter what happens, you will at least get your $20 back. But they give $20 back as a credit within their account. So they owned your $20 and you can only use that $20 in there and you can't withdraw it. So they still have your $20. You just got to reuse it into the thing. Like these, you know, but it should just be like treated like anything else. It's a risk. But it shouldn't be looked down as anything like real estate's just as like there's so many scams of Airbnbs and real estates out there. There's I forgot her name, but this lady which I don't know why these people just blindly give people online money. Like these Instagram people, like, oh, all you gotta do is give me $8,000 and I have this whole Airbnb condo thing going on here. And however much they rent out of the month, if we make a profit, you get the profit percentage and all this stuff. For some reason, and then if they don't, then you have to pay me money. It's like, why don't you just like, you could have just done that shit yourself. Got your own Airbnb. But people just want to do the laziest minimum amount of effort. And then quote unquote investing. And have people do their investing. And just blindly get money back. Because someone says, I'll take care of it for you. But yeah. With all that being said, I think I'm switching to DraftKings. I think sometimes you just need to change the scenery. Sometimes, you know, it's like when you're in a relationship, right? You know, when things were really good, man, I was hitting the W's every day. I was getting little wins here, like week after week, every day. I was getting some money back for like a good 2 weeks. Then now, you try to catch up. Like, man, I already lost 3 bets. Or let me place a quick just get a $20 profit 3 thing. And then you don't even come fucking. Then you start betting on late night Fresno State games at 10 o'clock at night, just desperate to get your money back for you won. And the guy gets 18 receiving yards when he needed 43. Like, what the fuck am I doing? That's the type of shit. It's like, oh, this is what they do. They know exactly how desperate people are, but they'll just bet on fucking anything that they don't watch. I need to open a fucking daily fantasy gambling site. That's where the money's at. Oh, Jesus. But yeah. Moving on. They call me Mr. Perfect Push-Up. Bruh. Get it, bro? Alright, sorry. I haven't done push-ups in a while. But, so. War. Are you at war with yourself, or are you at war with what people wish you were of yourself? Now, there's a quote that doesn't mean a whole fucking lot, but it sounds like it should. I'll say this, man. You know, I'm deep enough in the podcast game. Leadership. I really do think I should read a book on leadership. You know, there's all these, there's actually these famous books out here called like the 48 Rules of Power. I forgot what it is. It's like one of these big famous books that when people are on their self-motivated entrepreneurship trying to change their life around. They read these books that everyone tells them to read. It becomes popularized. It goes through trends where they sell a crazy amount. I think it's by Robert Greene or some shit. And people say the laws of it, like the shit you read is so intense that like it really makes you look at life like crazy amount of different. Like to the point where people literally like they'll say they'll read like a quarter of the book, they'll read like 10 of the 48 laws or rules or whatever. And they legitimately have to put it down because it makes you contemplate everything you've ever been doing in your life. And it's like that type of like wake up call, right? And, you know, that would be nice. I would probably read it and it wouldn't make me contemplate everything I've done in my life. It would just make me contemplate. Why the fuck am I letting a book with words on it make me contemplate everything I've done in my life? Because when you really think about like what a book is, and more times than not, there's nonfiction, there's philosophical, these are just these rules of life type of books. These are the rules of how you should live to maximize your potential type of books, right? Or the how to be a real man, those type of books. How to truly find what God put you on this earth to be type of books. You gotta remind yourself that these are books that are written by people just like you. And some of them may have great knowledge of subjects. Some of them may have, have done a lot of research on what they're putting on paper. But you don't just read something and just take definite value of it. It should not make you like go home and cry yourself to sleep. But I think fiction, the thing about fiction, when things are purposely fictional in books, it makes people more open to receiving it to the point, and that's why you see people like crying when they're reading like, I was going to say Captain Underpants, but people are crying laughter for different reasons. I miss the Captain Underpants book. Like every 6 months, I remember at the Scholastic Book Fair, they would always come out with a new one. I would never read it, but I would always want to pretend like I'm reading it. I just hate being told to read shit. I like to read shit on my own time, I like to only read shit that actually I care about, And I am the captain of this underworld with people wearing no pants. I ain't got no pants. I may or may not. That's why I keep the camera chest high. Titties bouncing. Babies bouncing inside. Bounce to the ounce. Damon Bruce, NBA 2K14. But yeah, I don't know, like the thing about philosophy that's kind of weird, or a way of living type of books, is you should always be open to things that you haven't thought about yourself, and you read when it's intended to make you think, and it's intended to help us humans, because that's who it's for when people write these books. How to become a better human, essentially. How to become better leaders. And if you're in certain positions in your life where you're trying to, do all that good shit, it's good to, want to better. But people will just start becoming this shit. And they just dive head in and don't actually apply to who they are as a person. Not realistic with themselves, that I'm not going to be all of these 48 powers of laws. Like, I got a job. I got shit to do. I don't have time to sit here and be, manifesting my greatness. I don't have time to reach my full potential. I don't have time to read your fucking books, to be quite honest with you. Maybe that's the point. If you're not making time to read the book, it means you're not serious about your life. It's like, well, maybe you're not serious about your message getting across if you're charging $34 fucking for me to read your book when I could go online And someone has probably done an article just listing the 48 powers of laws anyways. I don't know. I could save myself $34. I could probably go on YouTube and someone just summarizes it. Did the work for me. Well, maybe that's your problem. You're always looking for the easy way out and not doing the work. And I'm pretty sure somewhere in that book, you're talking about entrepreneurship. You're talking about creating something bigger than yourself so you can pass along, so you don't have to take on all the pressure and do everything yourself. And then you have people working for you doing the work for you anyways. So we're still talking about the fucking same thing, aren't we? Here I am projecting shit of a book I've never read. So, I don't know. Woo! It's a little too much carrot to nibble on that tippy tongue. Tippy tongue. Who needs Daffy Duck when you got Laffy Taffy when she back in that assy? Could you imagine if Daffy Duck and Bugs took acid? Maybe that's all Space Jam is. It's just one big acid trip. I don't know. Maybe that's really what Michael's secret stuff is. Oh, Jesus. Oh, Sylvester. Oh, putty cat. Oh, Jesus. That is a blast from the past, though. I still haven't seen the LeBron Space Jam. And I feel like it's probably not that good. No, it's not a LeBron versus Michael debate. But I swear to God, if someone were to use, well, Michael's Space Jam was better than LeBron's, like, well, one, it's been made like what? Like 23 years apart, 24 years apart, if I had to guess. They were made with completely different directors. Space Jam 2 couldn't use, the one R. Kelly song that's not about sex. Like, they couldn't even use it in current times because of all the shit going on with him. I believe I can. Damn. It's kind of weird. Like, I ain't gonna lie. Like, when I used to buy CDs, I legitimately bought R. Kelly's greatest hits. And it was, like, kind of at the time. It wasn't when he went to jail, but it was when, like, everything was, like, kind of out there. And then it's weird because, like, I listened to R. Kelly growing up. I knew some songs. But when I bought this, like, greatest hits, I listened, like, man, like, I like all of his songs. Forget the subject matter. It's just like, man, it all's like, eyes calling. It's like, there's just such a natural feeling for him. Probably because he doesn't read or write his music. So it all just comes out natural. I think there's something to that. You could definitely tell when artists write or don't, for better or worse. Is I feel like the most natural form when a song is good is, like, I think Michael Jackson didn't even, well, he had a lot of songwriters for most of his, but when he would be singing the songs, the way he would develop the style of the singing of his songs would just be him in the studio just, like, going off on it. Like, it wasn't like, oh, this is how you do this, Michael. Like, with R. Kelly, he would just, like, kind of basically freestyle his, his choruses and his harmonies. So we would make fun, like, of all of his, but that's what makes him unique. This is not a pro, well, I don't want to say I'm anti R. Kelly of anything, that stuff. But it's kind of this weird thing where his music is still fucking good. But it's one of those things that you can't go out of your way. Like, you can't type in R. Kelly in your Spotify and that'd be normal. But if you're listening to a playlist and it just happened to be in the playlist, or it happened to be in your special playlist with the lady, regardless of her views on R. Kelly, 98% of the time, they're not going to stop and ask you to change it. I'm not speaking from experience. I am just saying. No one has ever changed the R. Kelly song during certain situations. Well, except Trapped in the Closet came on, and then all the interludes, and then when the one with the, the dwarf comes out of the closet. I don't know. That may be a buzzkill. But everything else is nothing but sweet honey love. Oh, she got that vibe. Jesus. Fiesta. But see, that's the thing, right? Everyone's so anti this, and they should be. All the stuff that people are talking about, the Matt Rife joke where he talked about DV, and I hate God. Yeah, I gotta say, when I was working on some stuff earlier, I came across on YouTube, and there's a podcast, and like you definitely tell these big podcasters, but they fit in the commentary niche when they do their podcasts. They try to cater to censoring everything. Like they say, trigger warning, content warning. We talk about, a certain topic. Like it'll be domestic violence. It's like, all right, man. Like most people watching your stuff are grown adults. They can see in the title that they don't like the subject. You have to give them like a million warnings. They see it and just be like, they don't want to listen to it. But they make it like you're watching like Nickelodeon, and then it's like, hey, suggestive. Just so you know, this episode has suggestive themes in it. It's like, all right, but like people going overboard about that stuff. It's like people joke about stuff. People do songs about subjects, and it doesn't necessarily reflect what they do. It's just our observations of how the world perceives that stuff. And the uncomfortable underlying truth that you could find the worst and the most humorous, or you could find the underlying craziest, underlying, I guess, perspective that you want out of everything, good or bad. And I think just to think on the surface level that just this is that you can't find anything out of it that can at least make someone laugh. Find a point of view. I think that just goes to show that you don't really want to talk. You don't really want to listen. You don't really want to have discussion about things. Because what gives power to something is when you make it such a fragile topic that people can kind of secretly do it and secretly kind of go about things a certain way, and then there's no real unionizing of, hey, we could find certain things about the subject that's not the worst thing to joke about, right? Because someone joking about something doesn't necessarily mean they would do it or that they condone it. It just means that, hey, I see this shit too. I see the same shit that everyone else sees. But for some reason, there's certain people that only feel like they have a right to talk about it, even if they're not even victims of that type of stuff. I don't know. It's just kind of like, we all live in the same world. We all see the same thing on news. We all have friends and family and people we've worked with and people in close confidants that have had these experiences. Almost everyone has been around people with all the different bad experiences you could think of. And to think that you can't have a point of view or an opinion about those things is pretty insane, just because someone may have a more personal opinion or point of view or experience about something. It's like, your experience is not any more valuable than mine. I mean, I don't know. What the fuck am I talking about, though? But yeah, I really do look like I work at a mosque. Yeah, come dip your baby's head in here and then have, look, man, this is where like religion gets really weird. That whole thing of, what's it called, the moil? I think it's it's probably the worst time to talk about this stuff based off all the Palestine and Jewish back and forth type of thing going on. But I think even Jewish people would be like, yeah, you know what? A grown person sucking a baby's tip for, what is it called, a moil? It's probably, it might be a little outdated. It probably should have never been dated. But you know what? Maybe back in the day we didn't have the research, we didn't have the access to medical advancements where we could just kind of have an object or utensil or something to take whatever we're worried about being on there. And then we wonder why these priests and all this stuff have all these scandals with these priests and children. It's like, well, we basically directly have this weird shit. So I don't know. Maybe it's the wrong religion I'm thinking. I believe that is Judaism, where that is the thing. It's called moil, where they suck the baby's. I don't even like saying it like that, but yeah, a moil does not rule. Jesus. I think on that note, I'm gonna tip off this podcast. So yeah, that was actual episode 237 of the Off and Me podcast with Clint Nelson. I'm your host, Clint Nelson. Don't forget to like, follow, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Most important, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to suck some titties. And keep it at that. Don't suck anything else. Please keep it at the titties. Yeah. So yeah, have a great day, morning, night, whenever this is posted. Hopefully sometime in the middle of this week or so. Trying to get back on track. So on track. And that booty in that crack. Welcome to Kensington, Pennsylvania. It's all over the internet, people. Ooh. This is just for the Patreon. You get the free nip show.